Joining us now, great pleasure, Governor of Virginia, Mr. Glenn Youngkin. He's going to tell us how the cavalry can defeat the Democrats. There, Mr. Youngkin, thanks for coming back. It's been about a year since we saw you, so I'm glad to see you back. So let me ask you this. Let's talk candidly. It's just you and me. No one else is really listening. You showed us in Virginia a roadmap to victory. Terry McAuliffe tried to make your election about Donald Trump, for example. And you said, no, we have issues here. We have taxes, we have the economy, we have education, we have parents, we have crime. Now, you're campaigning for governors around the country. What is your roadmap? Tell us your wisdom to get the GOP across the finish line.
Well, Larry, it's great to be with you again. And the roadmap, I think, for governor's races across the country is the exact same roadmap we had in Virginia last year. Virginians are worried about high crime. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about their schools. They're worried about a government that tells them what to do all the time and doesn't work for them. That's what they were worried about last year. We have gone to work and addressed so many of those issues right out of the box. And that's what Republican governors need to be doing across the entire country. We've seen those incumbents do an extraordinary job, and the candidates, I think, have a great chance to deliver the same results for states that have been led by Democrats. That's why I'm excited to be in Nevada tomorrow, to be working with Sheriff Lombardo. I think we can flip Nevada. I think he stands for the exact right things. Get taxes down, empower parents in schools. Let's fight crime. Let's make government work for us, and let's protect our Constitution. These are kitchen table issues with common sense solutions. Democrats don't want to run on any of those issues because they're on the wrong side of every single one of them. And that's why I think we're going to see a lot of Republican governors win in November. You know,
Governor, it's fun. I mean, we were just talking in the earlier segment. This is going to be an inflation election. Inflation, economy, recession. And I know there are other issues, particularly something that worked really well for you on parental involvement in school choice. But wouldn't it, I mean, are you saying let's not look at the presidential race in 2024. Let's focus on these races, governor races in your case, and Senate races and House races for the midterms in 22. There are issues right in front of our eyes. We'll let 2024 play out whatever it's going to do. First, let's do issues to win the midterms. Isn't that basically what you're trying to say?
Absolutely. Of course, what Americans are worried most about are the issues that they're facing today. We've got runaway inflation and the misguided policies that continue to come out of the Biden White House just seem so disconnected from what's happening in everyday Americans' lives, where they see prices at the grocery store going through the roof. They see the bills that come to their homes going through the roof. And yet they see a president who doesn't seem to really understand nor care about that. And of course, the road is paved to success in those states that have been led by Republican governors. They've responded to COVID faster. They've come out of it faster. Economic growth has been stronger. We've just seen recovery be that much better. In fact, in Virginia last year was 47th in the nation in job recovery. This year, we are in the top 15. We're seeing jobs come back. We're seeing companies want to come here from Chicago and from Massachusetts. And we saw Lego put its only U.S. manufacturing facility in Virginia. This morning, we launched the groundbreaking of what will be the largest vertical farming installation and campus in the world. Companies want to go where they see a future, and Republican governors have been delivering. And I think voters want that now. Larry, they want it now. They don't want to wait. They want it now. These are the issues they're most worried about. These are the issues they will vote for in November.
Where you look at economic growth and unemployment and wages, the red states are killing the blue states. I mean, there's no question about that.
Absolutely.
I mean, across the board, those are factoids. So today, Biden says, you're going to love this, maybe you've already heard it. Biden says he inherited a crisis and he has generated his resurgence. Now, I would say to you, Governor Youngkin, looking at it factually, I used to be in that game of economic facts, he inherited a resurgence and he's created a crisis. And I think that is what the Republicans need to jump on right now. Don't hesitate at all.
Yeah, without a doubt. The only resurgence that is going on right now is is runaway inflation that is the silent thief stealing the hard-earned earnings from Americans all across this country. And in fact, there is nothing more insidious than runaway inflation. And of course, what's the result is the Federal Reserve has to slam on the emergency brake and take the economy into a absolute meltdown. This is something that we could have avoided had the White House understood basic economics and in fact begun to recognize that punching billions and trillions into the economy on an unnecessary basis was going to cause this. This is what Americans are most worried about. We hear it everywhere. They're having to economize at the grocery store. They're having to make trades. They're worried about their jobs now. This is where Republicans should be shining. But, Larry, I have to say, we should be winning here and we should be winning in education. The reality is that the progressive liberal answer to education is to insert bureaucrats and politicians between parents and their children, to teach kids what to think as opposed to how to think. And what we saw in Virginia last year is Virginians, not Republicans, but Virginians said, no way. We're tired of it. We want our kids back. We want our schools to stand for excellence and teach critical reading and critical math and critical history and critical science. And I think these two topics, when they're brought together, will be the primary topics that Republicans must and will win on.
Yeah, you were brilliant on the education issue when you ran. I mean, absolutely brilliant. So let me just get you on one more thing. You have been an outspoken opponent of the ban on gasoline-powered cars, okay, which I think in a universe of dumb things that Biden has proposed, this is one of the dumbest. And then there's this other thing, Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI, which I'm saying for the northeastern states, including New York and Connecticut, New Jersey, it's the, we hate fossil fuels. We want high electricity. That's what this thing is all about. Anyway, you're going to stick to your guns? I mean, really? No. First of all, you can't, Gavin Newsom in California is saying, no more gasoline-powered cars. You have to have EVs. But by the way, you can't charge your battery because we don't have any electricity, because we don't have any fossil fuels. Now, that's got to be the dumbest nexus I've ever heard.
It's just completely misguided. And let me just start with the basic belief that people should be able to decide what car they want to buy. And, oh, by the way, the second basic belief that in Virginia, our elected officials should be the ones that are representing Virginians in these decisions. And what the last administration run by Democrats did was, in fact, tie Virginia to whatever California says on what cars they're going to buy. It's an absolute loss of Virginians' own sense of self-determination.
Yes.
And in fact, to evacuate that principle is against everything we believe. So I will go fight to make sure that Virginians can decide what car they want to buy. And of course, on the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, it is a bad deal. It is nothing but a tax. In Virginia, nobody gets to make a choice. We have a regulated monopoly in our utility. The greenhouse gas charges just get passed right to the customers. There's no choice anybody can make. It is just a tax. It's running up electric bills, and it's making Virginians' lives even more expensive than they should be otherwise. And I'm going to continue to fight on both fronts.
Stay with it, Governor Youngkin. You're a winner. Stay with it, sir. It's great stuff. Thanks very much for coming.